What's good guys, Tiger here. Today I've got a Blackout video for you because I've got 20 tips to help you win duos and quads in Blackout. So Blackout with solos, duos and quads are all very different. There is definitely a massive playstyle change between playing solos and then playing either duos or quads. And the tips that I'm going to give you today are going to be helpful for both duos and quads. Some of them are going to be more specifically for quads, but the majority of these tips will help you nonetheless. So it goes without saying that communication is key for playing Blackout with teammates. You want to always be in voice chat when playing with anyone in Blackout because it is just so important to have that communication in a Battle Royale game mode. It's just absolutely insane the amount of communication and teamwork that is needed to win, because it can be very overwhelming if you're trying to 1v4 a squad in Blackout. You do not want to be in that situation at all. Of course it is possible to come out on top, but you pretty much don't want to be in that situation at all. So communication is so important. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so tip number 1, you want to always agree and land on the same marker. So if you've got a team that want to place markers all over the place, you want to very quickly identify where your team is going to land. You want to try and decide this in the deployment zone. So when you're in that pre-match lobby, you want to look at the map and decide, okay guys, where are we going to land? You don't want to wait until you're in the helicopter and then it all gets all panicky and rushed and you don't want to waste time and then you all just try and leave at all different times. That's not going to be a good idea. Give yourself plenty of time. You want to make it your first priority when you get into a lobby. Okay guys, where are we going to land? Where do we want to go? What route are we going to go on? And think about your strategy on how you are going to play this next game. Number 2, when landing at a location, try and space yourselves out to maximize looting, but stay close enough in case anyone gets in trouble. So if you are landing in an area of like multiple houses, you want to decide while you're wingsuiting down which one of you is going to take which building. So you want to be like, okay, I've got the top left one, I've got building number 2, you get building number 3, I've got the biggest one, you want to be able to communicate and decide which one of you is going to go in which area. If it's not necessarily like individual buildings, maybe just pick corners of a big bunker or just areas of the map, but obviously you don't want to be too far away. So if you're in a big area, let's say like Array, you don't want to be positioned all over Array. You want to be in a close-ish distance, so then if anything goes down, if anyone gets into trouble, you're going to be able to quickly assist them and help them out. Number 3 is call out noteworthy items you don't need that could be useful to others. So if you've got armor, you want to let your teammates know, okay, there's level 1 armor here, there's level 2 armor. Anything you don't need that you think is going to be helpful, so any types of scopes, any half-decent guns, any perks that you don't need, literally just call out every single loot item that you're not going to pick up that you think is going to be useful. Don't tell them that there's squad link on the floor. No one cares. No one wants that stupid perk. But if there's anything decent like dead silence or mobility or awareness, let them know and tell them, because just because you don't need it, it doesn't mean that it might be absolutely crucial for one of your teammates. Number 4, rocket launchers are really important, so try and have at least one person on your team with a rocket launcher. This is more specifically for those of you that are playing quads, because a lot of people will be trying to get around the map in helicopters and big trucks, so things like that. So if you can have someone on your team with a rocket launcher, you can very easily get a few quick easy kills with something just as simple as a rocket launcher. So try and be that guy, try and be that nice guy to be the one that dedicates yourself to allow that free slot for a rocket launcher. If you don't want to be that guy, try and have someone who's already got a really decent gun that they're happy with to be able to open up a free slot for the rocket launcher. Number 5, remember to carry lots of meds and drop them if your team needs them. So it is always good to try and have as many medical supplies as possible, so that's first aids, med kits, trauma kits, and if anyone needs them, or if anyone doesn't have 200 health and you have 200 health, drop the trauma kit, help your teammates out. It is very important to have lots of health, because your teammates are just so important, and even if you're just completely carrying their ass, you do not know at how important that person might be. So try and have as many medical supplies as possible to help your guys out. Number 6, when spotting enemies, try and use the compass and the numbers to help your teammates identify exactly where they are. So whenever I spot someone, I'll always say, okay, they're south, they're southwest, and it's like 150 or something like that. Always tell your teammates exactly what number they are on your map and what direction they're going to be using the compass. Obviously, the number that you call out is going to be completely different to your teammates, even if they are close to you, because of just the angle is going to be slightly different. So even though it's not precise, it's a very helpful indicator to help your teammates identify where you have spotted someone. Okay, number 7 can be a bit tricky, but is a very important one. So you want to understand who are the natural leaders in the team. You want to have at least one person making decisions on rotations and routes to take on, but you don't want conflicts. So if there are multiple people in your team trying to call shots, it's important at those times to be the bigger person and just agree on exactly what other people are saying. It gets you absolutely nowhere being stubborn in games like this. So if you really want to land somewhere, or if you really want to go to a certain location and you've got other people disagreeing with you, just be the bigger person, agree on them, because at the end of the day you just want to stay in a team as close as possible. Also, if you're in a team where no one wants to make a decision, again, be that person to be assertive. Number 8. Constantly feed the leader and your team information. You want constant small talk between your team, and it helps them out so much. So if you're moving up in a certain direction, just tell them in what direction you're heading in. Tell them where you're looking. So if you're looking at a certain area, so if you're looking at construction sites, just say, okay, I can't see anyone on the top. I can't see anyone at the bottom. You know, you just want to constantly be talking, constantly tell your team if there is anyone in a certain location, if there isn't. If you see a building that has been smashed, so if you're looking at a building and you see the window's been smashed and the door's been open, let your teammates know whether you think someone is still there or whether it's just been looted. You want to constantly be telling your team exactly what you are doing and what you are going to be doing next. Number 9, moving through buildings, you want to stay close to bait and switch and make trades in gunfights, but when moving across the map in the open, it's important to create gaps large enough where you won't take splash damage or get collateraled, but not too far where you can't respond to assist your teammates immediately if shots start to come in. Number 10, always tell your teammates if you have their back or not. If you aren't watching a certain area they think you're watching, let them know. So if you're camping in a building or your teammate has asked you to watch a certain location, just let them know you've stopped looking there and you're actually looking somewhere else, because you really don't want to have those arguments afterwards where it's, oh, you said this, you said you were doing this, all that bullshit. You just want to completely try and avoid those arguments completely and just be completely honest with your teammates and just let them know everything that you're doing. Number 11. Always pick up things like sniper scopes and try and prioritize the weapon that best suits the player. For example, if you've got a player on your team who's really good with submachine guns, let that person have the submachine gun. Same with assault rifles, and same goes for the sniper. Snipers in Blackout are so important, so if you can put the sniper in the person who it best suits, you're going to have a much higher chance at winning. Now, ideally, you would like at least 3 people to have snipers, because snipers are so OP, but you want to always prioritize the right weapons with the right people. Okay, so regarding gunfights, number 12, when in gunfights, use your equipment, but make sure it doesn't harm your teammates. So it's always great when playing quads to be able to throw grenades, throw cluster grenades, stuns, 9 bangs, things like that, but you don't want to use them if it's going to harm your teammates. So if you've got a cluster grenade and you think that you can get a kill, you may not want to do it if you think it's going to kill your teammates. So you need to be very careful when using things like equipment and also just shooting in a certain direction. Because friendly fire is on, you don't want to be that guy who kills your teammate, because he's going to be very annoyed if you kill them. Number 13, when shooting someone, call out if the enemy has armor or not. Also, if they get downed before dying, make sure your team know that that person may have backup nearby. Because if you are the last person left in your team, if your health goes down to 0, you'll die immediately. You won't get downed because obviously there'll be no one to pick you up. So if you do see an enemy that gets downed, you know that they'll have teammates. So if it's in duos, you know their duo partner is still alive. If it's quads, then you know that they may have 3 other teammates somewhere nearby to help them out. So always let your team know if that's the case, because you don't want your teammates to just run up into the open if there's going to be more enemies nearby. Number 14, avoid getting into gunfights where you could be in the middle of crossfire. Sometimes it's best just to let 2 teams battle it out, dwindle down the numbers to help you get the best placing possible. So even if you do have clean and clear shots to get someone down, maybe you don't want to do it because their teammate will just pick them straight back up again, and you might just be in a gunfight that just lasts forever. So sometimes if you see 2 teams fighting, or you feel that your shots may not result in kills, then sometimes it's just best to leave it, move on, and wait for the circle to close in to then make a more decisive decision. Number 15 is understand man advantage, and make decisions based on how many people you have in your squad compared to the other squad you're currently fighting. If it looks like you're shooting only 2 team members and you have 4, you can play a little more aggressive and try and overwhelm that team. However, if it's the other way around and it's a team of 4 and you only have 2 team members left, then you may want to just try and hide and be careful and not put yourself in those situations in order to stay alive. Number 16, towards the later stage of the game and the circles are getting smaller and smaller, if you know exactly where someone is, try splitting up into 2 teams and flank that person. They can't look at 2 places at once, so if you can create a pinch on someone from 2 angles, it's going to be very likely that you'll be able to kill that person or that team. Number 17, if your teammates get downed, your main priority should be to look after yourself. It's important to know when to try and revive your teammates and when to just leave them and focus on yourself. Your teammates cannot help you if they're downed. All they can do is just give you intel on the enemy. Look after yourself and try and kill the enemy before picking up your teammates, unless you find an opportunity to pick that person up with little to no risk. Number 18, your downed teammate should try and find a safe spot to stay or to try and make their way to you so then they can revive you. If the person downed just thinks they're completely dead and there's just no hope of them being revived, then it may be smart to crawl towards the enemy just to try and get as much intel as possible to help your team out. Number 19, if your teammate is downed and another teammate wants to revive them, try splitting up to create a distraction so then your team can successfully revive your teammate with minimal risk. Okay, last but not least, number 20. If you spot an enemy at distance, time your first shots with your teammate to deal as much damage as possible before that person can react. So if you spot someone in the distance and you're just pre-aiming that person perfectly and you're ready to take your first shots, do a countdown with your teammate and try and shoot that person exactly at the same time, because as soon as you start to fire, they're going to be jumping and running and dashing everywhere to try and avoid your shots. So if you can just melt that person in one burst with the help of your teammate, you're going to want to do it because it will save you bullets and time, and it will just be a lot easier. Okay, quick bonus tip guys, if you get the win, make sure to pull out your best emote and dance in the final circle. Make sure you let everyone know that you are the best team. I really hope you enjoyed these tips. Please let me know in the comment section what your best tips are for playing duos or quads in order to get the most wins possible. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to stay updated on all my latest content. But that is all from me. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next video.